What's going on, fishy friends? Guys, we are traveling down to the southern Chesapeake Bay tonight. And let me tell you, the bite right now in the Chesapeake Bay is on fire. We haven't had a December like this in a long time. I've heard a lot of things. Somebody told me the other day they think it's El Nino. Other people have got, a lot of other theories. But right now, the bite on the bay is fantastic. But I'm not going to tell you guys all about it. I'm going to bring these gentlemen in here really shortly. But before we get to that, I'm your host, Grant Elliott. This is the Fishing Corner, brought to you by Old Skool Tackle Company. They are the sponsor of the show, and they make fantastic gear. Prizes for tonight will be provided by them. So before we go any further, let's bring these three gentlemen on tonight that are the experts and all three captains down there in that region. We got one more. So tonight we should have Cole, but his video is not coming through for some reason. Let me see. Cole, drop out and come back in for me. Hang on. So we're going to remove Cole for just a moment. But CL, you're a veteran when it comes to doing this podcast with me, I guess. But Brandon, you're a new guy with us. So Brandon, before we get any further, why don't you sort of tell us about your fishing journey, how you got into fishing, what keeps you fishing, and then talk about your charter service.
Oh boy, okay. Man, I don't know. I grew up on the shore, grew up liking to be out in the water, and did a lot of crabbing growing up, worked for some commercial guys, and fished any chance I had. Did a lot of bait soaking when I was young. I had a little skiff. I'd run out and catch my fish. And getting up towards college age, I went to college in Western Maryland, so we did a lot of bass fishing and stuff like that. That kind of introduced me to some of the lure stuff. And then I had a buddy who got me into really taking that bass fishing stuff over to the saltwater. And man, ever since, it's just been it's like a drug. Just got to keep doing it. And
the drug is the drug, right?
Yeah. And just got tired of sitting in an office, got tired of sitting behind a computer, and wanted to do my own thing, and had some help to get started, and took a leap, and here we are.
Well, let's talk about what the help led you to. You've got a captain in front of your name for a reason. You run a charter boat out of the lower eastern shore, is that right?
Yeah, mid to lower. Like little chop tank area down to Hooper's Island area, and then fish down from the Virginia line to the big chop tank pretty much.
Well, brother, you have a beautiful area to fish in, man.
It's a wonderful area.
What I love about fishing down there is I always call it the 180-degree test, right? If I could turn my head to the left and turn my head to the right and see no signs of humanity, then I'm in a good place for me to fish. That's one of my most relaxing things to do is be in an area like that to fish in. So do your business, what does it, has it got a name, and what do you guys kind of specialize in?
Yeah, so it's Salttail Charters. I don't know how the name came to be. My wife had a little bit to do with it, and naming it wasn't one of the easy thing for me. But we're just a light tackle guide service, light tackle and fly fishing. Just like to get out there and take people fishing. I really like to focus in the shallows. That's kind of my favorite. That's where I really like to be. Obviously, don't do that all year round. So this time of year, it's just like what these other guys are doing. Everything's a deeper water jig bite, which is just as fun, especially right now. But that's kind of, just light tackle game and really trying to get into the fly fishing a lot more. It's something that's really sparked my interest a couple of years ago, and I'm kind of pushing myself to do it more and trying to get more clients out there doing it. And it's a little different.
Well, let's definitely get into that some. I think I've got a theory here that CL Marshall, his camera's not. Your audio is not working, CL. I think you might have accidentally muted yourself because, not that he's a big mouth or anything, but as you were talking, Brandon, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen CL this quiet for this long. No, we still don't have you, CL. So maybe try to drop back out and come back in. CL's usually not a man of few words. That's for sure. But actually, while we're waiting on these guys to come back in, Old Skool Tackle is the sponsor of the show. As always, guys, questions at home are going to get that you ask at home are going to get priority to anything we're talking about tonight. So as your questions come in, we'll take them. The prize is going to get some OG eels from Old Skool tonight. And Brandon, you are one of Old Skool's original members of their guide program. Tell us a little bit about your journey with Old Skool.
I think I stumbled across something a few years ago when he kind of got it going. Stumbled across it on social media. It's like the place to find everything now. And reached out to him, and super nice guy. And we talked and we chatted it up and got something going. I wanted, it's nice to support. We're lucky here on the bay because there's a lot of local tackle companies around, and
sure.
He's company right here from the shore, and I'm an hour away, and just wanted to support them. And the baits, they speak for themselves. They're durable, they hold up, and they catch fish. And there's a lot of baits out there, a lot of plastics, and a lot of them work. And it's just one of those things. I like them, and I'll keep using them.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about Old Skool is, they're local. I always like to support local. But the other thing is, I do all kinds of fishing. I do freshwater. I fish from really Florida all the way up to, Maine. I was fishing in Maine, a few months ago. So Old Skool makes something for me to fish in every single application, which is really great. CL, I think we have you back now with audio, right?
Can you hear me now?
We sure can.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me, but I was like, I don't think I've ever heard CL be quiet for this long. So something must be wrong.
Hey, listen, let me tell you what's happening tonight. We had a great morning fishing, man. We went through Hooper Straits, took a right, found a bunch of fish, and that was good. But what I'm more excited about tonight, I got some folks with me tonight I think's gonna help a little bit. I got our local IGFA rep, Mr. Bill Hall. Bill, come on in here. Bill's been a representative for the IGFA for how long?
25, 30 years.
25 years he's repped the IGFA in our area. He's handled how many state and world records? Many?
Probably 100 or so.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
Pull Bill in a little bit, man. We can't even see him.
He's also my college roommate. So,
well, Bill, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Tell us, Bill.
What do I do? Well, I am available to speak to clubs on IGFA regulations and what it takes really to register a trophy fish as an IGFA world record. So, and we also talk occasionally. CL and I will talk to clubs about different types of fishing techniques, whatever it takes to catch whatever's biting.
Well, we'll have to have you back when you have a little bit more time to prepare. I don't want to kind of call bring you into work, when you're you might have a beverage in your hand. You'd probably rather sit back and chill. But we'll definitely have to have you back on the show.
CL literally pulled me out of the bar with a drink in my hand, says we're doing this tonight. So.
We're on our annual men's Christmas shopping event. So the other thing I got here tonight, which is pretty cool because Christmas is coming up and we're talking rockfish and rockfish is king. I got Chef Johnny Moe to share his Christmas rockfish recipe with us.
Man, Chef Johnny, I've seen you on our videos before. Let me tell you, you're What is it? Crab encrusted rockfish, something like that. That recipe is ridiculous.
Done it. And this year, oysters, rockfish, that's the time of year. The weather's just right. The water's cold. Everything's good. People are catching them. And, get out there, catch your rockfish, bring it home, slap it open, pull the scales off, pull the skin off, put it in a piece of foil. Just put some good butter, garlic, all that good stuff. Lemon.
Bacon?
Bacon. Bacon makes everything better, I got to say. I'm having a hard time finding the right words tonight because we've been Christmas shopping and I've got the merry spirit on the mind. So, throw some dill on there, just make it happen.
That'd be good.
If somebody wants to get in touch with you and get a good recipe for their Christmas rockfish, tell them where they can access you.
I appreciate that, man. Mallard's Restaurants. We're down in Nancock, Virginia. You can catch us at mallardsllc.com. Eat at mallards.com. We got so many websites. It's all
the musical chef.
The musical chef, but just come down to Nancock, visit the Eastern Shore. It's a spot that's magical. It's a place that's unlike any other.
The cool thing is you can launch right there at the Nancock boat ramp. We can go fishing. We catch speckled trout, red drum, whatever. And then we can fall back into Johnny's place for cocktails and maybe something decent to eat.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you, CL and I hooked up with Johnny Moe literally the first year he moved to the Eastern Shore and started a restaurant, and we have been great friends
ever since.
And fishing buddies and eating buddies and drinking buddies ever since.
They've told me everything I know about fishing, and I've taught them everything I know about cooking.
And business is good.
You guys sound like you're living a really rough life down there.
And we're still friends.
It ain't
you're struggling. Delicious food, amazing fishing, beautiful scenery. I mean, are you guys okay? Are you going to be all right?
It's like Molly Hatchet said, it ain't for everybody.
That's right.
We're struggling, but we're still have our heads above water.
It doesn't sound like struggling to me. Cole, how are you, sir? You got it all worked out?
No, I think so. We'll try to hang in here for a while anyway.
Well, guys, let me tell you, I'm hearing things. And I'm seeing things. I saw a video posted down there south of Point Lookout. And all three of you, I think, are old enough to remember when you were switching channels on the television. And you remember when you between channels you'd see static? Down there at Point Lookout, I'm seeing birds so thick that it looks like a television when it's in static. I mean, y'all's bite is insane right now, is it not?
No, it's as good as it gets. But you talk about the birds, and it's great having all the birds and stuff around. But actually, me and Brandon were talking earlier, and I said you don't even have to be around the birds. People take the time to slow down and look around a little bit. Those fish are everywhere right now. I mean, birds make it nice, but the other day there was a pile of boats down below me, and I told people, I said, look, we're not going down there messing with that today. We'll look around here, try to stay to ourselves if we can. And I think I looked around for about 5 minutes and the screen lit up, and we had piles of fish under the boat. The whole stretch of the channel through there. It's just a lot of fish around right now. A lot of nice fish too.
Not on top of the birds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of a sign. It's a sign of changing times. It feels like, 5 years ago, you were really just looking for birds. And now, while birds are kind of a good place to start, that's not necessarily going to be your strategy, chasing them around to their, lack of focus attention when they're jumping around every 5 seconds, getting spooked by boats. CL, is that your experience down there a little bit further south?
Man, chasing birds costs you fuel and time. Today's fish we caught, we weren't around any birds. We just found our own fish and did our own thing. A guy got a little close to me for my liking, and I kind of eased off from him a little bit and dropped a pack of saltine crackers. Chased the birds, and I went back on my fish. So,
Give him the old popcorn trick.
Who's our co-host?
Sir?
I'm asking Brandon who our co-host is.
Oh, that's the next captain. I don't think her older brothers I don't know if they're going to do anything, but this one, she's interested.
Well, what's the biggest fish you ever caught, little girl?
On my lap. What was that?
And now she's shy, right?
Oh, yeah.
what the biggest fish he's ever caught was.
I don't know, maybe some little 25-cent one out of a machine.
Go ahead, CL. I'm sorry, you were going over.
No worries. It just kind of boggles my mind a little bit. I mean, up the bay a little bit. We've got a good bite. Those guys, Brandon and Cole, were working on them pretty good, and I know Foxwell and those guys got on them a little bit yesterday. We did today, but I don't understand why there's not a similar type of thing happening behind Tangier. It's just not as many fish back there. I mean, you guys are on a world-class fishery up there right now, right in your backyard, and I'm sure y'all are taking full advantage of it. So,
yeah, like we talked about in the probably last show or something. People were asking me what the fall bite was looking like, and I just shook my head and said it's not looking good because, like CL saying, them fish weren't in there. They weren't in the shallows. They weren't.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, I mean, Brandon, I think they had good bite up there, you know, above us, you know, like they normally do. But the fish we can normally grind on, it wasn't there this year.
I kind of feel like there's a lot more fish this year that may have popped up through the Delaware Bay and came through the canal. Some of these big fish that are way north, like I don't think they came up from the mouth.
Well,
I think
Brandon, yeah, you might be right, and that's an interesting theory. I first started hearing about these big fish actually probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and a buddy of mine said, "Hey man, they're on the Rappahannock," and so I joined their Facebook page, and sure enough, a bunch of posts were there. And it seems like shortly thereafter they were up here, but they kind of jumped Point Lookout, and now they're down at Point Lookout. So it's probably a combination of the two. You know, there's some fish that were down in that area, and some of them are coming through. What do you think, Cole?
Yeah. I mean, I think the fish we're on came from the ocean side. You know, I don't think we're messing with canal fish, but you know, you see a lot of people getting really excited because most people are done fishing after the end of December. You know, they can fish in Potomac to the end of December. So there's a lot more people out there right now fishing. So I think everybody's excited to see these fish this early again. And they were, you know, a lot of people were saying that it's new, never happened before. It's what it used to be. You know, it used to be like this. Those big fish were here like this. You know, we just had I'm not even going to say we had a slow couple years. They were just, you know, look last year. Last year it was January, February, March time frame we were doing this. This year it's December. You know, it used to be like this before. You know.
Yeah, I mean, before last year, it seemed like the October was becoming, you know, Rocktober was becoming Rockvember and Rocksember. But even then, those fish a big one was 35 inches. You know, we weren't seeing these 40 plus inches until the last few years. But CL, would it be, you know, completely out of the realm of possibilities for you to take a customer from the Pocomoke Sound and run them, you know, north of Smith Island, closer to the mouth of the Potomac?
Yeah, that would be out of the realm of reason because I'd put over in Deal Island, straight across. But you know, talking about those big fish that are, I don't want to say they're stuck up north, but that's where they are. Yeah, there's a couple things to that. You know, our most fish tend to migrate a little further north year after year after year. I caught a bunch of pompano this year. There's been some triple tail caught, some bunch of other stuff. You know, so is the northern migration of rockfish a thing? You know, is it? Are they getting here a little bit earlier? I mean, I'm catching fish with roe in them, which is a little. I've caught more with roe in them. I guess 3 weeks ago it really started, and it's about 1 in 5 that I caught that have roe in them. But you know, they're Virginia fish. The northern fishery is just amazing. You know, up the bay where you guys are, it's absolutely world class, and the opportunity to catch a personal best exists every day, every minute of every trip you're out there, and that's something that you really got to take advantage of. I mean, I don't think folks in this area understand what the opportunities are there right now, and you know, if you're not going to call Brandon or Cole, you need to call somebody and get out there. That's for sure, because it's been a while since this happened. The last time I remember it happening was probably 10 or 12 years ago. We had it in the Pocomoke sign, and we had it for just a couple weeks, and it was truly amazing. But this seems to be going on and grinding on and on and on. I don't know if it's because there's more bait up there. I know the water's a little bit warmer up there than in the Pocomoke sign, but it's definitely something that folks need to take advantage of. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny, CL, because when you were talking, I was like just thinking the grass is always greener, because up here we look at the fact that someone can come down to your area and a little bit south and catch just giant bull reds for a huge part of the year, where we get them for kind of, what do you think, Cole?
They show up. You can really start looking for them in late June, July. For us, the way we fish for them, and up till October, that seems like it thins out.
One of the cool things is, though, about the Chesapeake, I mean, I don't want to sound, condescending or anything, but it ain't that big. It's really not a whole lot for me to put over at Deal Island and be at the Rappahannock or the Potomac or anywhere in the bay for that. Easton, I can go anywhere within a couple hours. I can be at the Tiki Bar over in Solomon's Island in an hour and 15 minutes. So, I mean, truly, when you're thinking about it on a global setting, if you're used to fishing offshore, the bay ain't that big. There's a lot to do with an hour of wherever you're sitting.
Yeah, it's all about perspective. When I first started fishing the bay, I've been a freshwater lakes guy, and the first day you fish on the bay, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of water. But like if you're an ocean guy, right, then the bay feels pretty small. We have a few questions rolling. Actually, one question. I just want to remind everyone, we got prizes for the night from Old School Tackle Company.
Are they them purple ones?
It is, and let me show you. This bait is being given away. All right.
Yeah, I may have some of those on my on my boat tomorrow.
Yeah, caught. Where's that? Dang it! I had it. It was on here. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and upload this overlay because, hang on. I'm going to go ahead and upload this overlay because I did it earlier, and I thought it was going to pop up, but we're going to do this because this lure, this soft plastic, caught that fish. You can even see it hanging out of its mouth, and look how deep that fish ate that bait. So this is really good.
Poor product.
What'd you say there? See how?
Got to do a better job of showing the product, whoever that is, when he catches the fish. You got to put that on the outside of the lip. You got to make it prominent.
Who was that guy?
I don't know.
Some dork. But the cool thing about these OG eels is it's funny. I was actually reaching out to Brian, and I was like, man, why can't you make a 6-inch version of that? And he was like, you dork. You can just cut the first 3 inches of it off. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess it totally could. But you can make that, because it's not, it's a, I don't know what you'd call that, almost like a cylindrical bait. It's not like a BKD that has a very defined body shape, but you can actually cut a good bit off. But this first question coming in comes from Nikki and Bob at Hook Optics. They make great glasses. CL, I know you're a big fan. But they ask, how far up are those big fish? Eastern Bay, Bloody Point. I'll actually take that question. Cole, I'll let you chime in as well. But I'll take that question since I am the most far north out of all of us. I'm located in Deal, really close to Herring Bay. And I'll say that you're almost exactly right. I think this is probably Bob. You're almost exactly right in how far they're coming up. Most people are saying up to Chesapeake Bay, but I was talking to Tom Weaver yesterday, and he said they were all the way up to marker 84, and that's Poplar Island. So, a little bit north of Chesapeake Bay. I don't think it's quite to mouth of Eastern Bay, but that's, Poplar Island is really pretty much mouth of Eastern Bay, so it's really close. Cole, did you want to add to that? I know you probably don't fish up here that much.
Not that way. That's Brandon's territory. It'd be a cold day in hell you catch me up there.
I have not been up that far yet, but I've heard the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I think those fish are pretty well spread from anywhere up there south.
Curtis James asked, "What's happening in that house that has led CL Marshall to be streaming outside?"
Well, let me answer that. Tonight's their annual men's shopping trip. Luckily I had early dismissal from work this morning. They were tired and wanted to go home, which is always a good thing. So I love an early dismissal. So we got off early tonight. It's their annual men's shopping trip. I've got Steve Casados from Steamers and the go-kart track down in Chincoteague with me, Johnny Moe, Bill Hall, that whole crew. We're up in, I'm right outside of Luna's right now, which is owned by Shotty's here in West Ocean City. Got some just banging tacos and pizza. And we've made a few stops and just doing some Christmas shopping, got to make the wife happy.
Right. So in terms of this rockfish bite that you guys have going on, some things that I've noticed and I've heard around, and I want to see if you guys have had the same experience. People are catching a lot of big fish up top, right? So in your traditional setting where you got birds and you got fish holding it towards the bottom, feeding on the bait above them, a lot of people are catching fish on either they're taking a soft plastic and ripping it across the top, or a crankbait. Are you guys seeing that same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I know for us anyway, we've right when you get around some of those big fish, we're lightening up lure heads and still throwing the same big soft plastics. And just as soon as that bait hits the water, I got them closing their bails and pop them within the first 10. Try to keep it up first top 10 feet of the water column, and seemed to be working really good the other day anyway.
Brandon, CL?
Same. I mean, yeah, you got to look at your screen and look at what's happening around you and try different things. But yeah, I mean, those fish, they come up, they go down.
They're all over the place. Michael Cool has a question coming in. He says, "Why do you think the fish are congregated further north rather than everywhere? Are they locating a spot to spawn?" There's not a specific person he asked that, so really anyone who wants to jump in and hit that one. And guys, here's how we're going to do this. Since CL and Cole are our regulars, gentlemen, each of you try to remember a person that asked a question that you like, right? So CL, you're going to pick a question. Cole, you're going to pick a question. And our guest, Brandon Wingate, is going to be the tiebreaker and choose which one of those questions he thinks is the best. And the winner will win the prize. So the question is, why do you think the fish are congregated further north rather than everywhere? And are they locating a spot to spawn?
Is he talking about them like CL was talking about earlier as far as migrating? They seem to be further north. Does he mean all through the bay? They just seem to be tighter in the upper part of the bay. Because I think they're just widespread right now. You got pockets of fish up and down the bay. I don't see any serious congregation of a huge mass of fish north or south or anything right now. It just seems to be these nice pockets of big fish.
Yeah, and I think it's where they're it's where they find bait. I mean, if those fish come across the area that's holding a lot of bait, that's where they're going to stay. They don't have any reason to leave that. Yeah, I don't really think that it has anything to do with the spawn so much as they're going to go into the whatever river they're going to go into to spawn, but they've got quite a ways to go before they start thinking down that road. It's a bait thing.
Yeah, I think you guys hit it on the head a little bit earlier. When you said they're kind of spread out everywhere. Sure. As far as the fish on top of the water column, there's a reason Clint down in Cape Charles catches those big ones on eels, and they're all up top. I mean, that's something to that. I picked up on that a few years ago, and that's really led me to fish for big fish more up top than I'd ever thought, because I was, actually thought of Cole this week when I put the metal in my hand and dropped it, had that deep, because that metal jig's a charter captain's friend, that's for sure. And as I was doing it, I noticed the bigger fish were being caught up top, and we kind of changed our tactics a little bit. But fishing's good.
Yeah. Big Yacker asked a question that I think is on a lot of people's minds. Colin with Big Yacker Fishing. He asked, is it a water temp thing or a migration thing that is keeping these fish around? I think there's your answer, Colin. There's a lot of people are like, there could be a lot of things.
Yeah,
want to take a stab at that?
I think it's a bait thing. There seems to be more bait congregated up in that area. It's just like me. I'm at Luna because the tacos are good tonight. The food's good. That's why I'm here. And I think the rockfish kind of feel the same way. I mean, they find an area. There's bait there. The water's a little more temperate than it is in other parts of the bay. They got up. And the thing is, it's almost Christmas. It's December, People think this is the best rockfish bite ever, but it used to be like this all the time. And people kind of miss that part of it.
Yeah, I think people have a short memory when it comes to.
Here. Yeah, he's got $100 worth of stamps here that he's getting ready to terrorize.
Yeah, that'll do it. We have 3 dogs here and had some presents out for my daughter, 2 of them actually. And when we got home from doing other Christmas shopping, there was 1 present left for my daughter, and they ate everything. The only reason why we knew they'd eaten a present is there was a piece of wrapping paper on the floor that was this big. The rest of it was completely gone. But Robert Figliozzi asked, I have noticed the bait is much smaller this year than years past. What do you think is the reason for
that? Smaller as well. There's been a lot more bay anchovies, bay anchovies and silver sides, stuff like that. I've thought this year, but I was listening to I think it was the ASGA podcast that they were talking about the bay anchovy and silver side young of the year was like the highest it's been. So maybe that's got something to do with that. As far as the menhaden, the bunker, I mean, I don't know that they're smaller or bigger. You just have different age classes.
Small. There's definitely a lot of small bait. It actually, I'm sure you guys did the same thing. You see that smaller bait, you probably downsized on your lures and stuff like that. When you're used to seeing those big bunker this time of year, and throughout the summer, you're throwing those big baits to try to match it. This year, we were downsizing, throwing a lot of 5-inch stuff to these stripers here earlier.
A lot of rain, a lot of that kind of stuff.
I don't even know how old a little 4 or 5-inch bunker like that is. CL, you know how old a bunker like that is?
No, they don't live that long in Virginia.
Well, so maybe these are the ones that squeeze through the net.
So
they went through the call rings.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I'm noticing this year it's pretty weird that I'd like to ask you guys, and I'm not eligible for question of the night, but what I'm noticing right now is you can be on a school of fish that's 18 to 25 and catching a lot of them, and then you're tempted to move, but right before you move you catch a 45, which is kind of unusual to catch a fish that size really swimming amongst the smaller fish. Have you guys noticed that, and why do you think that's the case? Cole, you go first.
Don't ask me why, but yeah, I have seen it, and I put a post up earlier this week about one guy on the boat might have a 25-inch fish, and the guy right beside him's got a 45-inch fish. Now I have noticed, it seems like everything else, these are big fish. They're not stupid. They've been around a long time, and it still helps stealth. Coming up to a fish quiet. It seemed that if you were coming up to a batch of birds, I'd be slowed down well before I got to them. I'd have the motor off before I got up to them, and I would have the guys throw well up into them at the max of their reach, basically, to get to them, and they would pull those big fish off the top before they would get spooked. Even if you are quiet and you do the best you can, you're still going to spook those big fish, you go charging up into piles of fish and stuff, and if you hook a big one like that, you go play the lottery. You're just lucky anyway, you know. But yeah, no, they're mixed up with the smaller fish too, and I don't know why. You know, it's maybe the main pushes of them haven't come up through here yet, and we're just catching. You know, maybe we haven't seen the best of it yet. It might break loose and get wide ass open here soon.
God, I hope so. God,
It's more wide ass open than it is now. I mean,
oh yeah, it can be. Let's go.
It can always be better.
It can
right?
always be more open. Yeah.
It can always be more wide open. So I know Cole, you know, if Cole has his way, he's going to catch fish right there at the mouth of the Potomac and save that gas. Brandon, what would be your equivalent? If you're having your way, where are you catching those fish?
Anywhere from Hooper Strait to Little Chop Tank, because I can get to Hooper's Island or Madison in the Little Chop Tank pretty much in the same amount of time. So I'm kind of lucky in that way that I can get to a couple really good launch locations and put me in real good water. But anywhere in that stretch there is a easy little trip.
And where are you seeing them now? Like what depth over on the eastern shore? You got to come a little ways off of Hooper's to get into
channel edges. Yeah, you got to follow the channel edge.
Right. So you're talking, 30 feet plus. I'm guessing, right?
40.
Yeah.
I mean,
deep water.
Where we are, it's really, I've been noticing you're talking 45 to 70 right now.
Sure. Yeah, you might find them in 100 feet, but that doesn't mean that's where the fish aren't going to be at 100 feet. But I mean,
right.
Yeah, I mean, they're using the channels the bait's going to go to the channels. So, wow, that's my take.
Well, CL, you said the fishing's been not quite as hot down where you are, as where we are. Are you taking the time to write another book? And how are the book sales going? And talk to us a little bit about that book.
The Chesapeake Bay Adventures, that continues to plug along. The release date on that was a little tough in February, so it's kind of a split sales effort between February, March, and April, and February and March, and then we got busy fishing, and so we've had a nice little push around the Christmas season. The cookbook, A Taste of Eastern Shore Living, that's done very, very well over the holiday season. We reintroduced that. That's been good. And fishing's been good. We've been blessed, man. The three of us have been blessed to be able to, in late December, to continue to do what we do. I went a couple days where I didn't go fishing. I went duck hunting, and I hated it. I couldn't wait to get back out on the boat again. So, yeah, I mean, we've been very blessed.
Well, I'll tell you guys, if we have a winter, so I mean, we really are. I think today's the 21st, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So today really is the first day of winter. So we've really been in fall. I mean, so if we have a winter like we did last year, then this year we're getting a 12-month bite and one heck of a fall and winter, if last year repeats itself.
Yep. It's a winter solstice.
Yeah, today is the shortest day of the year. So for those of you guys that get off of work and try to go fishing, each day from now until the summer is going to be about 2 minutes longer. So at least you have something to look forward to. Got a couple questions coming in. Justin Burns asked, if you guys had one bait to toss down right now, what bait would it be and size?
I'll tell you right now, it would be a 4-ounce herring, a piece of metal, get it on the bottom and go. If I had to, that one right there. But I like the green ones. If I had one bait to put in an average angler's hand that if I had to bet, the charter trips fee on it that would catch a fish, I'd put that bait, Brandon, in their hand and say, get it on the bottom. And I'm pretty sure that I'd get paid.
I'll tell you, and I want the other two of you guys to respond to this, but I'll tell you, CL, I've always thought if I was a charter captain, a metal jig would be my best friend, because if you have a new angler on the boat and you're saying, you got to get down to the bottom, that's going to get him down to the bottom better than any soft. You can have the most straight soft plastic in the world, and it's still not going to get down to the bottom quite as fast.
What's really cool is when you go up the leader about 18 inches and tie a dropper loop, put a little 5/0 big hook on there, with one of them purple things you just had in your hand, and you hook that on, they catch 2 at a time, and the day gets shorter.
That'll get you to your glass of whiskey faster, right?
Yeah. Look, guys, I'm gonna have to jump out on you all. We've got this Christmas thing going tonight. I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of it. It's a pleasure. And
Thanks so much, yeah.
Merry Christmas, by the way.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to
Nice
you.
seeing you.
Thank you, guys.
So questions to you, Cole. If you had one bait to toss down right now, what bait would it be and size?
Yeah, now if I've got experienced anglers on the boat, I'm putting soft plastic in their hand. I've been pretty hot and heavy on the 1 ounce right now, 1 ounce, ounce and a half. I'd probably have something like that hooked to it. But yeah, no, ounce, ounce and a half jig head with anywhere from 5 to 7 inch soft plastic. Paddle tail. I was really using a lot of paddle tails earlier, but I've kind of switched up to just the jerk shad style now. It just seems to be producing a little bit better. And white.
White.
Yeah, I know up the bay. What's his name? Was on here last week or something. He's all chartreuse.
2 weeks ago, was it Walleye Pete or Tom Weaver?
Tom Weaver. He was on it. I know he's all chartreuse.
Yeah.
And generally I am too, especially in Potomac River and stuff like that. I use a lot of chartreuse, but this year it just seems to be that white, blue, or white with some sort of flake in it. It's just it's just catching fish. It's catching fish real well. But yeah, ounce and a half jig head, jerk shad, white. If you got experience, if not, you're getting metal.
I know a lot of guys that fish a paddle tail this time of year, and more power to them if they can get that down. I wonder if I have the patience sometimes, and I think that paddle as it's dropping slows it down just a little bit. I think for my patience level and my skill as an angler, I need that fluke style, like that straight tail, where it's going to drop down as fast as possible.
Well, take a look at what you just said there with the paddle tail, and it taking longer to get down, and where we're just sitting here talking about where those big fish are for the most part. That paddle tail is going to help you out too. There's absolutely nothing wrong with throwing a bigger paddle tail right now, trying to keep it up high.
Yeah, I think I agree, and I think it's hard to just nail down one bait. I definitely agree with CL on the metal. If you have some people that may not be the most skilled jigging or anything like that, a metal is a good way to get them down quick and have something easy that'll catch fish.
We do need to clarify this though. If you jump on my boat and I hand you a metal, it doesn't mean you're a bad fisherman.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll take the same disclaimer on that too. It's just more of an all-around catcher. We'll say that.
Yeah.
But I think the same thing Cole's saying. Depends on where the fish are at. When you have these fish up where they have been, where you can throw and just start reeling. I like the 5-inch paddle tails are nice with an ounce head on them, or even a 3/4 or half ounce. I mean, and then the OGs, those eels, Violet Pearl's a pretty banging color. It's whitish with that iridescence in it, and I think in this real clear water and everything we have, it's a real natural looking color, and probably why Mike's working so good. We got
white
really
blue
clean water.
seems to work really well. Got some other questions coming in. Craig Evans, this time of year, when fishing deeper water with heavier lures, what size rod, reel, line size is a good setup for jigging these fish? Brandon, why don't you take that one first?
So I usually switch, like right now, I've pretty well switched everything to my heavier setups that I use for reds, cobia, and all that. And they are, they're a heavy, when I say they're a heavy rod, they're not broomsticks. They're still nice light rods, but they've got a lot of backbone to them. And I'm using my heavier 5000s with 30-pound test. It's not that it's necessary as much as I really like when these bigger fish are around to have something that you can put some power on those fish and get them to the boat. You start jumping down into really light stuff like 10-pound, 15-pound tests and light rods. You can certainly land those big fish, but you're going to wear them down a lot doing it. I mean, you're not just going to haul them to the boat. That heavier stuff, you can get them to the boat, get them back in the water, and
Right.
heavier jigs. It's not as hard on the rod.
Yeah. Especially nowadays when there's a lot of attention to, fish mortality rates. There's something to be said for being able to land a fish quickly. Cole, what about you?
I've got pretty much everything set up, medium heavy rods. I run 20-pound braid on just about everything. The only time I switch up to 30 is when the reds and stuff are around. So I run 20-pound braid and 30-pound leader, and just as simple as that, right on across the boat. I try to keep things simple. You know that.
Yep. Yeah.
I did have a guy on there the other day caught one with the ice rod. That was the first.
Ice fishing rod?
Yeah, he had a 45-inch rockfish with a ice rod about yay big. He had a 5,000 reel on it.
Man, did you get any pictures or video of that?
Yeah, I did.
Speaking of pictures and video, real quick, Cole, and we're getting pretty close to the end of the show, guys. So
I know what you're getting ready to put up there, and I really wanted CL to be on here for this because I had to pick his brain about some stuff on that. But go ahead.
If you want to get a question, and hurry up and get them in because we're gonna be done here in a few minutes. But speaking of pictures and video, you sent me a picture the other day, Cole.
Yep.
Looked like what? Just barely under the upper limit of the slot redfish.
Yep.
And that was what, December 17th?
It was this past Saturday, whatever that was. Yeah.
I mean, real close. So December 15th, 16th, 17th.
Yep.
Just inside of Virginia.
Yeah.
On the open bay in 70 feet of water.
70 feet of
I
water.
were talking about it, and I was like, that's just a unicorn. And
70 feet of water. He was suspended. Those, when we've been out there in that deeper water, 70, 100 feet and stuff, the fish have been suspended about 20, 25 feet, and it was no different there. Those fish were about 20, 25 feet deep, catching rockfish right along, and all of a sudden, the guy, what's that? So that's a puppy drum, as a matter of fact. So that was pretty cool, and that was on a 1.5 ounce jig head with one of those 7-inch jerk shads on it, and he just gobbled it up. It was pretty cool to see. That's one of the things I want to talk to CL about was, we had all those little puppy drum in here this year.
Where do they go?
Where did they go? Do they leave? Do they winter over? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. That's not typically our fishery. I mean, we've always had those little puppy drum like that, and some years it's great, some years it's not. But this year it was great, and I'm kind of really curious for next year. Maybe there's a fishery in the wintertime or springtime that we're missing out on because we just haven't quite tapped into it yet.
Well, I want to ask Brandon this because if you guys had ever gone down south, fishing South Carolina, Louisiana, North Carolina, you see tailing redfish, which are almost every time, puppy drum or just over slot puppy drum. And if you were to close your eyes and have someone, drive you down to South Carolina and then put a blindfold on you and drive you to Hooper's Island, those areas look real similar.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about big flats of, sand and grass. Brandon, I mean, doesn't it seem like your neck of the woods would be a perfect area for shallow water puppy drum?
Yeah, I mean, I think CL probably would have a lot more input on this because he's got a lot more of this type of water down where he is. But I think the thing that gets hard with it is some of these flats and everything up on this northern end of the sound they are big. So you don't have a real concentrated area. Down south there, they have a lot of little back creeks and guts and stuff, and these smaller flats that have a big concentration of these fish. I mean, a lot of our puppy drum fishing didn't come off of that kind of stuff at all. It was,
like your perch,
hard structure banks where you would catch perch. If you catch perch there, that's where those puppy drum were.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting, like Cole's saying, if these fish are wintering over in this deep water, are they pushing up in the shallows in the spring and we're just not looking for them? Are we going to have a run on, man, God hopes we have a run like we did on these little ones that are 18, 20, 23, 24-inch slot fish next year would be wild.
Yeah. Well,
I promise you one thing, it's not a bad thing.
No, it would not be a bad thing.
And if you're following trends of other fish, I mean, Cole, I don't know. It was actually Steve Griffin that said he saw tarpon rolling in Maryland last year. And, CL was talking about pompano. Somebody caught a pompano up in my neck of the woods, I think it was last year. All these
rock, yeah.
Cobia keep pushing further and further north. Redfish keep, big bull reds keep pushing further and further north. It seems like a reasonable prediction to, guess that puppy drum might, that fishery may push further and further up from, Virginia Beach on up to here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a possibility. Look, like saying the sheep's head and stuff like that they were catching this year. I'll take it. Hey, bring
all day long.
How far north did that come this year, Cole?
I don't know how far north it came. That was one of those. I think we were at the edge of it, down in our area. It was one of those fisheries where you need to spend some time on it to be successful. And when you got clients on the boat, it's not something that you can say,
right.
Hey, we're going to go for 8 hours and try to catch one or two sheep's head. It just wasn't possible. So I didn't spend a lot of time doing it. But there were a lot more caught this year than I've ever heard of. So,
and up in your area, right? You're talking about right. Point Lookout. Wow.
I'm talking about Point Lookout area and stuff like that. I don't know if they went as far as like, let's draw a line at Pax River. I didn't hear of anything up that way.
I think it's one of those things that there probably are a few on some of the structure and stuff, but nobody's really going out and targeting that stuff. And it's something you'd have to spend a ton of time. And I think, the further north you go, it's more of a luck thing. You're gonna luck over one. But it seemed like some of the areas down south, more Point Lookout and down, it was more of a, man, I can go here and catch some.
And got a good chance at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The puppy drum, I guess my understanding is those big bulls that we're catching are spawning here in the bay. And
the way I understand it is, obviously the bulls are coming up here to spawn. And then as far as I know, their young will stay in that area, that nursery, for 2 years, and then they leave.
Right.
I talked to somebody actually earlier this evening that said no, they'll leave, come back, and then leave again. But I don't know.
You need to get you need to find a fisheries biologist to get on here.
Yeah. Now I do know that they grow exceptionally fast their first 2 years. So that 2-year-old fish is that slot size fish.
Yeah.
Which is why you have that slot size. So they can replenish so quickly within those 2 years.
Yeah, they grow very quickly initially, right? And then they slow down a lot.
Correct.
A lot.
I have a question, and then we're going to get to these last 2 questions, and then we'll get to the end of the night where we choose question of the night. But I was watching something recently where there's you guys may have heard of this. There's an actual shrimping boat, a commercial shrimping boat in Ocean City now.
Yeah.
Where he's making money and providing shrimp to the local fish markets in Ocean City. I'll also say that I was in Janes Island 2 years ago at the end of the summer, and at the campground throwing my cast net, and I caught enough shrimp to eat that night for dinner for 3 of us.
Yeah.
Brandon, is that something that you're seeing more and more of it as time goes by?
I just like what you just said. There was a couple years ago there was a huge run on them all up. I mean, even up towards Hooper's Island and the Honga River and stuff like that. I didn't really see anything this summer as far as big runs on shrimp or anything. But yeah, I mean, as far as I know, there's a full blown shrimp fishery in Virginia Beach and
now in Ocean City.
And yeah,
I mean, there's at least one boat that I know of for sure. I don't know if it's a what do you call it, a shrimpery? It's not a fishery. If there's enough going on to support multiple boats, but I thought that was pretty interesting that there's a.
How long ago was it? Was it like 3 or 4 years ago now that all them shrimp came up here?
Yeah, they were up off. Yeah,
them guys across. It was more on the eastern side than it was on this side. I mean, we were catching them here and there, but that eastern side really had them. And I was talking to some of the charter boats over there, and they said they'd back the boat in on them high tides, and when they threw it in gear to stop the boat, it was blowing shrimp up on the dock. So I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I know I saw down like a lot of those charters down the Virginia mouth of the bay this year in the fall. Were posting pictures where they catch their fish and then they go shrimping and catch their big gallon bags. I don't know. There's a certain amount you're allowed per person. Be pretty. I wouldn't mind seeing that up here. It'd be pretty neat to go cast net 5 or 10 pounds of shrimp at the end of the day when you get done fishing.
Damn right.
Well, it'd also be pretty cool to start throwing a voodoo shrimp in shallow water, right?
I think you could throw that all day long and they'd still eat it. I mean, especially those puppy drama.
I'm sure they would. 2 more questions, and then we're going to go to the question of the night. Since we lost CL, I'm going to choose a question. Cole's going to choose a question, and then Captain Brandon, you're going to be the tiebreaker. It's our way to make sure that everyone doesn't like you, so that you feel most welcome. Justin Burns asks, what medal is that you guys were holding up?
There we go. Well, let's see here. Is there a name on it? What do they call that? Crippled herring?
Yeah, I was going to say that looks like a crippled herring.
Crippled herring. And like CL likes the green. I like the blue. That's a blue back one. He likes the green back. He's got more years experience. I'd go with green, I guess.
Yeah, I'll say, all metal jigs are not created equal. I like the drop of a crippled herring a lot. I've been using, because my good friend Fig, who Cole you fish with a lot, fishes with an all blue. This little jig from China, but it's just a flutter jig, something you could probably get over here as well. But the flutter jigs really, have a nice drop to them that they don't sink like a stone, as like a sting silver is going to sink really fast.
Right. It's straight up and down for the most part. Here's what I tell people to do, especially if they're new to fishing and stuff like that. I'll put one of these in their hand and I'll have them drop that lure about 2 feet right beside the boat. A lot of people don't realize how much a lure moves with just a slight twitch of a rod. That thing, you can make a bait move a long ways. These guys that are out there snap jig 10-foot strokes and stuff like that, at certain times that's effective, but this time of year, so far this year anyway, I've had people doing just quick little 6-inch snaps of the rod. And when you drop this lure beside the boat, and I tell people, look at that lure and just do these little snaps with your rod, this thing goes all over the place. You wonder how a fish even grabs it, so just the natural fall of this lure will just attract fish to bite. You don't have to do a whole lot of crazy stuff to get to do what you want. That's why they're so effective.
Yeah, no, I agree with the light jigging. I've had to break some people this year doing that. Great big over their head, pulling the rod up over the head, just very soft touches.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of luck with just the old feathered bucktail has been killer.
Yeah, when I fish with sting silvers a lot before I was educated by Cole and some other guys. The sting silvers that did better were the ones with the bucktail. So, that put in a bucktail on those same jigs that seem to be a little bit more effective would be good. Last question of the night comes from Michael Cool. who's also a charter captain on the bay. He says, where are you finding the bigger fish, on structures, ledges, or on bait?
I like bait.
Bait.
I like bait.
I'm
And, obviously this time of year, everything's pushing deeper and deeper. So, obviously edges, deeper water is going to be a place to look. But, even with all the bird shows and stuff like that going on, one of my favorite things to do is to run up that channel edge until I start marking bait. And this time of year, with the amount of fish we have around, you don't have to look very hard around that bait to see a couple of fish. You don't have to see a screen full of fish. Just see a couple of fish around that bait, and you start getting your guys jigging. And as soon as somebody hooks up, it's just game on. So you wonder where they come from. You never saw that many fish cruising around, but your screen will light right up with fish, and it's just good fishing. So I like bait. I try to find bait on ledges.
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah. I mean, it's just this time of year. These fish are feeding hard.
Yeah, I think you knocked that one out of the park, Cole. Yeah, I mean, I think it's bait and ledges. I mean, but you're going to find the bait on the ledges. But, yeah, I think you pretty much covered that one. Cole, I'm going to give you first shot so I don't pick your question. But what was a question that stuck out to you as question of the night?
Somebody, I know you told us to remember their name, and I've really been sitting here trying hard to remember their name.
Never. I don't think I've ever had somebody say, you know what, I'm going to go with that guy that asked that question. You guys never do that. But what question was it?
The guy that was asking about favorite jig right now. What's your favorite jig right now?
Metal, you mean?
Not the one that just asked about.
If you had one bait to toss.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you know what?
Nice, simple, easy question. It's an effective question. There you go. You got it.
All right. So that was my question as well. But I want to give people. All right. So we're going to go. I like this question. Is it the water temp thing or a migration thing that is keeping these fish around? So I'm going to give you a 10-second drum. Actually, you know what? We'll do a little countdown here. All right, Brandon. You got 10 seconds to think about it. I'm going to show it to you again. You got water temp or migration thing. And you got what metal? No, that's not it. One bait to toss right now. What would it be? So we'll do a little. Technology's cool.
Man, is my time up? I got to pick now.
That's what the countdown was for.
This is tough. It's hard. I honestly, I think I might say the bait one. What bait and everything, because I think it's very pertinent to just what's happening right now, and good information for.
Love it. Well, I'm
people
pretty
getting
sure
out there right now.
Past Justin, if you go ahead and send me your information again, just in case I've lost it. For anyone else, if you've won a prize, there was a little bit of a transition period where Brian with Old Skool was sending them directly from where he is on the Eastern Shore, and then he passed it over to me, where I'm mailing them from the Western Shore. So there was a little bit of a transition time. So if you got in that transition time and you haven't received your prize, please let me know, because we want to make sure that you get your prize. Justin, go ahead and send me your information, and we will get these OG eels from Old Skool Tackle Company that allowed me to catch this fish like a week ago. So that was a 43-incher caught up in this neck of the woods. So that it's a great bait, and send me your information, Justin, and we'll get those to you. Brandon, it's been a pleasure. You're pretty good at this, man. You act like you've done this before.
I have not.
This is the first time you've ever done one of these lives?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, your daughter was better than you, but you're pretty good.
Always.
Cole, tell us something witty to close us out.
Oh no. No, I will back up. It's not something witty. I will back up on that other question that was picked there. That was a good question. The water temperature side of things, that's a good question. The problem we could talk about, you need a 3-hour show. You need a 3-hour show for that. There was so much to cover on that topic because everybody's got their own opinions on stuff. And water temperature does play a huge toll on what these fish are doing. But great question and stuff like that. But oh man.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of guys and they've told me 40 degrees is that kind of magic number. If it drops below that, it's going to kill the bite. But I got good news for you guys. If you look at the next 10 days into 10 days from now is like 3rd or 4th of January, actually 2nd or 3rd, whatever. The water's going to stay over 40 for at least the next 10 days. So
because it's going to warm up a lot.
Yeah,
it's going to warm up.
Have
temps in like mid-50s soon.
Wind, yeah.
Wind
South
causes
wind.
that warm up.
Yeah. I will add quick to that too. What you're saying about that question, I think it's a great question too, and I think it would be worth trying to find somebody who understands striper biology to come on and talk, because I think that in general, a lot of the fishing public, especially in our area, does not have a full grasp on just how all of the striped bass stuff works with having the nursery fish or the schoolie fish that are here for 7 or 8 years of their life, and then they start migrating, and then these fish migrate back, and they're not. You get a lot of people that think that they're spawning right now, or they think that they're getting, and just I think it would be. It's a good question. Just
there's a lot of questions
going on. Yeah.
We have a
somebody that actually knows real well about how that works.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Cole, as always. Brandon, it was really nice having you on. Good luck to both of you in the next few weeks. Let's hope this bite stays on. To everyone at home who watched and asked questions, thank you so much. Have a Merry Christmas. I really appreciate all of you guys for your support, for your questions, and for really helping to keep this fishery going and being an advocate for your fishery in your area. So thank you so much. And we won't see you until after Christmas. So we'll see you next week with, I know Big Bird's going to be on from Ocean City representing Big Bird. And we're going to try to get another couple personalities from that area as well. So thanks so much for watching. Take care, guys.
Merry Christmas. See you.